I'm Joe Ikley, Extension Weed Specialist at North Dakota State University, and today we're at our Palmer Amaranth research site in eastern North Dakota. In this video, I want to walk you through some of our corn treatments that we applied out here this year. We're now in early August, so really get to see how effective these corn treatments were for the season. So we're going to walk through some treatments in two different trials. We have one where we applied pre-emergence herbicides, came back 3 weeks later, and applied a post-emergence herbicide. And then the second trial is 2 weeks after planting, we made one pass total post-emergence program. And I want to show some of the varying levels of success and failure that we had with some of our weed control programs this year in corn. To really set the stage, this population is resistant to 5 different modes of action. So we know with water hemp, we can do a pretty good job controlling water hemp in corn. Atrazine and our Group 27 herbicides have been very effective for us for controlling that pigweed. However, this Palmer Amaranth population does have resistance to, so glyphosate of course, also to atrazine, Group 27 herbicides, and we do have some growth regulator or Group 4 herbicide resistance in here as well. So what that means is that we do have some pretty powerful corn programs, but we have to use them correctly and basically get those Palmer Amaranth plants before they get out of the ground. And I'll show you what happens if we wait a little bit too long to apply those herbicides when we have metabolic resistance. Okay, so the first trial that we are going to walk through is our pre-emergence followed by post-emergence trial. But first I want to show you the untreated check over here behind me because there we have not only Palmer Amaranth but a lot of common lamb's quarters and redroot pigweed and some kochia as well. I point this out because what you'll see in the plots is that the other weeds have all been eliminated, and really Palmer Amaranth is the only escape in these next plots that we're going to walk through. First plot I wanted to show here is just a pre-emergence application only. This is 2.5 quarts of Acuron, which may be a little bit high on the rate for several of us that we want to apply. But what I do want to show here is that when we go with that rate of Acuron, we can get pretty good control. But once we look into the corn canopy, we do start to see some escapes, and some Palmer that escaped quite a while ago, and it's already taller than me, but not quite as tall as the corn yet. This next plot I want to show, this is still 2.5 quarts total of Acuron, but we split it. So we used 1.25 quarts pre-emergence at planting, and we came back with the other 1.25 quarts 3 weeks after planting. And we dig into this plot, we don't have those tall Palmer Amaranth plants anymore, but we do have 1 or 2 escapes that are about 8 inches tall. So we did eventually get some Palmer to come through this treatment, but overall much better than trying to do it total pre-emergence like the first plot we showed. So this plot we have is 2 pints of Sure Start 2 pre-emergence, followed by 1.25 pints of Resicor, again 3 weeks after planting. And so here what we have is a product in Sure Start where we have basically one effective active ingredient on Palmer Amaranth and our Group 15 herbicide in there. Then we came back with Resicor, which has 2 effective foliar active ingredients, plus we added in the atrazine and some glyphosate. So 4 different effective active ingredients on a plant like Palmer Amaranth, plus added residual. So compare that to something like the Acuron treatment, where we had Acuron followed by Acuron. There we had 3 effective active ingredients, but just applied sequentially. So there's a couple of different ways to get 3 or 4 different effective sites of action onto this Palmer Amaranth population. The main thing I want to point out is, if you remember at the beginning, I said we do have resistance to all these sites of action that I talked about. But if we use them effectively when the plants are not out of the ground yet, then we can get some pretty good control. So the last treatment I want to show here is we took our maximum season rate of Harness Max, which has mesotrione and acetochlor in it. And so I wanted to show when we take a product like that with 2 effective active ingredients against Palmer Amaranth, in this case we're relying a lot on that Group 27 in the post-emergence application. And so this plot actually looks a lot like our pre-emergence only treatment. So even though we have 2 effective active ingredients, this is generally a very good product on a lot of weeds. When we have this metabolic resistance, we needed more active ingredients in there to overcome that Group 27 resistance in this population. So we'll see plenty of large escapes once we peel back this corn canopy in this plot. Okay, so those were the trials that we wanted to show off, or the treatments that we wanted to show off in the pre followed by post corn trial. I want to show off 4 of the treatments in the post only 14 days after planting trial. The first one I want to show off here is Amaranth GT at 3.75 pints. So relatively newer product. In this case, it's basically built as a replacement for Halex GT. And I want to point out here that what we're relying on for palmer control in this product would be the mesotrione and glyphosate in this case. There's also a group 15 herbicide for residual. In this case, coming in with that product 14 days after planting, we already had Palmer Amaranth that had emerged, and you'll see plenty of escapes in this plot because we have resistance to both glyphosate and our group 27 chemistry. Okay, the next plot behind me, this is once again Amaranth GT at 3.75 pints, but now we added in a pint or a half a pound of atrazine. And what you'll see when we walk through this plot is we do have overall better Palmer Amaranth control by having that atrazine in there, but we do still have plenty of escapes. They're just generally a little bit smaller. So again, now we do have 3 effective foliar modes of action in group 27, atrazine, and then glyphosate. But when we have metabolic resistance and resistance to those 3 sites of action, we will still have escaped plants. So the next plot I want to show, this is Resicor, again post-emergence 2 weeks after planting, and this is 1.25 quarts. So the comparison I want to make here in the pre followed by post-corn trial, we had Resicor at 1.25 pints, but it followed a pre-emergence application. In this case, we essentially have double the rate of Resicor applied 2 weeks after planting, but still plenty of escapes because we did not control the palmer before it got out of the ground, and we're really relying on that mesotrione, that group 27 alone, to control this Palmer Amaranth. And even though it was small, only 2 weeks after planting, with that metabolic resistance and resistance to mesotrione, we again have plenty of escapes in this plot. And so the last plot that I want to show here in our series of corn treatments, here we have, again, 2 weeks after planting. Now we have Resicor at 1.25 quarts plus a half pound of atrazine. And so once again, we have a product and a program that might be pretty effective on most of our other weeds, but when we have this metabolic resistant palmer, the group 27 and atrazine together even did not control the plants that were emerged at application. So we have other chemistry in there like acetochlor to give us more residual. So what you'll see is plenty of escapes, but they're generally larger ones that were present at application, and we just were not able to control them with this program here. So hopefully you got an appreciation for what I wanted to show in these corn trials today. So when we do have metabolic resistant Palmer Amaranth, do we have control options? Yes. Do we have to be very timely? Also yes. So in this case, in this year, we could not get complete control unless we had a pre-emergence followed by post-emergence program, generally 3 weeks apart, and we had to have full rates for our geography of 3 to 4 different active ingredients. When we had less than 3 active ingredients, when we tried to do post-emergence only, basically once we slipped from that program of 3 to 4 multiple active ingredients, timely pre followed by post, we started to see escapes. And so that's kind of the reality that we will face, and we are facing in this field with metabolic resistance when we have group 27 atrazine resistance, is yes, we have the products to control Palmer Amaranth in corn, but just like other crops, we have to be timely. We have to make sure we get our mixes right. And in some years, we have to have the weather break in our favor to make these timely applications. So again, just wanted to show what we're dealing with in some fields in the state, and we don't want this to become widespread.